Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. Bit of a feedback video, go through some of the comments, see what's happening there in the comment section and have a bit of a chat about the current situation in the country at the moment. And let's be honest, it's been a long year. Things don't seem to be improving. Lots of people around the country living with restrictions at the moment. Some places are talking about lifting restrictions and some places are talking about extending the restrictions. So a lot of different things happening around the country according to where you are. The central government still seems to be reluctant to allow areas to have full lockdowns. We know that in places like Andalusia, of course, down there you have perimeter confinements to your municipality. People not allowed to go to different municipalities unless it's for a very, very good reason, maybe for work, for health, for education. But if you want to go to the supermarket in another municipality, apparently you're not allowed to do that. I've seen some comments in the comment section of people saying that, for example, there's a few areas down there in Andalusia and Malaga where two municipalities might be separated by a street, and people, of course, are not legally allowed to cross that street and go into that other municipality. And it's strange, it's weird, it's difficult to understand, but let's be honest, everything that has happened in this country over the last 9 months has been difficult to understand, and unfortunately things don't seem to get any clearer. Catalonia has announced today that they're going to extend the closure of bars and restaurants in that particular autonomous community. I also saw the president of the Murcia region say that he wants the army down there to control the municipalities and make sure that people don't travel from one place to another, because he said they don't have the police resources in Murcia to control everybody. So is that really going to be the next step down there in Murcia, that you're going to have army checkpoints in every municipality, making sure that people don't go in and don't go out of their local areas? A bit extreme perhaps, but maybe that's the problem that they have down there in Murcia, that people are not respecting the perimeter confinements and moving around freely when they shouldn't be. So the president down there thinking that that's the only way to get the situation under control. And he's also called for the central government to play a bigger role in the pandemic crisis that we have at the moment. But I can imagine that this is just pure politics, because the president of Murcia is from the Partido Popular and the central government is the PSOE. So opposition parties fighting with each other, and pure politics in my opinion. And while all of these places around Spain are deciding to extend restrictions, here in Madrid they have just announced that they're going to lift the restrictions in 10 of the areas that were confined. 10 of these health areas are going to have their restrictions removed on Monday, so people will be free to move out of those areas that have been confined for quite a while now. So Madrid again bucking, that's right, bucking with a B, the coronavirus trend in the country. And there's been a fair bit of talk in recent times as to why this is the case. I've mentioned it quite frequently in recent videos that there are certain sectors of the population now starting to question the data coming out of Madrid. People find it hard to believe that the numbers in Madrid are coming down when smaller cities in the country, especially some of those ones in Castilla y León, the numbers there are going up. Whereas in the capital city, the biggest city, the most dynamic city here in Spain, numbers are going down. We saw yesterday El País question the data here in Madrid. We saw that Catalonia a couple of days questioned the data as well. So something's going on. It's a little bit difficult to put your finger on, but I think they suggested yesterday in El País that it's all about the testing and the way tests are being carried out in the Madrid community at the moment. And it is strange that Madrid has very few restrictions compared to the rest of Spain, except of course for the curfew, which by the way also starts later than other places around Spain. So for example, here in Madrid the curfew starts at 12 midnight, whereas in a lot of other places around the country it starts at 10. We saw in Andalusia that they've shut down all non-essential businesses from 6 p.m, but here that is not the case. You can go shopping until 10. Bars and restaurants are allowed to operate. People are allowed to go to shopping centres, and people are allowed to travel around freely from municipality to municipality. So things in Madrid are a bit strange, but it's all smoke and mirrors at the moment. Now there was a lot of feedback yesterday on these new PCR requirements that people coming to Spain will need as of November the 23rd. If you come to Spain by sea or if you come to Spain by air, you will be required to have a negative PCR test that has been completed 3 days prior to traveling. I saw one comment from somebody saying that they're coming to Spain around the 26th or 27th of December, so they don't know how they're going to be able to get this test done. Lots of people complaining about the price of the test. Somebody said that in the UK, a test of this type can cost up to £150. A lot of people saying that these tests are not accurate, and some people asking the question, why wasn't this done before? Before the country opened up again back in July, the government said that they were going to impose a couple of restrictions on people coming into the country via airports and seaports. You had to have a certificate, I think. There were also temperature controls and visual controls at the airports, but official PCR testing was not required. So the government didn't require a test when they opened the country up to tourism earlier in the year, but they want to test now. So it seems a little bit strange, but again, everything that's going on at the moment is strange. And on top of all this, the face of the coronavirus here in Spain, Fernando Simon, I'll put a picture up here so you can see what he looks like. He came out recently and said in his opinion that this type of testing is not really necessary because not many people are coming to the country and bringing the coronavirus with them. He doesn't think that that is one of the main causes of infection. So another contradiction to add to the long list of contradictions that we have had in this country over the last 9 months. I've got my pencil here, so I'll just write that one down as well, but it's a never-ending series of contradictions between government, opposition and experts like this Fernando Simon. Now, as expected, there's been a lot of protests in recent days and weeks. Different sectors of the economy are hitting the streets protesting that they're not getting the aid that they have been promised by the government. The hostelry sector in recent times have been getting a lot of publicity because of these protests. Apparently very little help is getting through to that sector. Businesses are apparently closing on a daily basis, and there are people in furlough schemes that are still not getting paid and haven't been paid since this pandemic began. Apparently that organisation, the SEPE, is completely collapsed, and yesterday I heard on the news that there are now mafias involved in the system and charging people up to 90 euros for an appointment. Apparently what's happened is that they've managed to hack into the online appointment service of this organisation. They get all of the available appointments for themselves and then they sell them off for anywhere between 40 and 90 euros. And it's amazing just how quick some people can be to take advantage of others, to take advantage of a situation like this, to come up with the idea, to develop a software in order to do that. Lots of ingenuity when it comes to scams, but not much ingenuity when it comes to making decent, profitable businesses. It's a very, very difficult times for people involved in these industries, the bars, the restaurants, the coffee shops, the hostelry industry in general. Lots of bureaucratic walls being built for them at the moment. They just can't get through all of the red tape. They can't get through all of the pegas, as they say in Spanish, that word pegas, red tape, bureaucracy. They just can't get through it at the moment. And unfortunately for lots of businesses in this sector, the closures are not the only things that they have to deal with. I saw an example down there in Benidorm that some businesses have to prove the type of clientele they have in order to get help from the government. So for example, they have to prove in some bars and restaurants in places like Benidorm that 40 or 50% of their clientele comes from tourism. So lots and lots of bureaucratic pegas, and very, very difficult for people in that sector to get the help that they need. So hopefully politicians will listen to these protests and get the money through to those sectors. And finally, there were a couple of comments about my potential move to the Canary Islands. I've been looking into this. I tried to get a little bit more information. Somebody asked if there were any incentives being given by the government there in the Canary Islands. I went to their webpage and I couldn't find anything. I read the other day that they're spending a lot of money to promote the idea, a lot of publicity to try to get people to come down. We've seen it in the press, but I couldn't find out if there were any economic incentives being offered to attract people to the Canary Island. Maybe they feel that the opportunity to live and work in the Canaries is incentive enough. I don't know. I'll look into it further and keep you up to date if I find any answers to my questions. And of course, the pros of moving to a place like the Canaries seem fairly obvious: the good weather, the cheaper prices, etc. But I want to know about some of the cons. Somebody said that maybe one of the cons is that you could feel a little bit trapped and you don't have the possibility to travel very far if you're living on an island. You don't have the freedom to jump in your car and travel to a country like Portugal or travel to another area of Spain. That could be one of the cons, but I want to know what some of the other cons of living in a place like the Canary Islands would be. So if you can, let us know in the comment section below if you are living in that particular part of the world. What are some of the pros and what are some of the cons, most importantly? On that note, I'll wrap this video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in that section below. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.